Good afternoon, everyone. It is Wednesday, March the 17th, 2021. It is currently 4:47 p.m. Central Time. I'm here at Victory Baptist Church, and I'm continuing to follow all of the developments about the tragic, horrible shooting that occurred in Atlanta yesterday evening. I think it started around 5 p.m. I believe 8 people. Yes, 8 people were killed, mostly Asian women, Tuesday evening. And it's a tragic story. It's a tragic, horrific story. And this morning, when I arrived here and started talking about the story and started covering the story, I immediately looked at something that I thought all of the reports up to that time had overlooked. And that is, there was this connection in my mind that there was this part of the story that needed to be discussed, and that was the shooter's connection with Christianity. That there were reports that this person was devoutly religious, that his father was a pastor of some sort. I don't know if we have any clarification if he was the pastor of the church or a youth pastor. We have accounts from the alleged shooter's social media accounts where he tells a story that I guess when he was 8, he in a sense was, thought he was becoming a Christian, but he really wasn't. He was just kind of doing it because everyone else was doing it. Later in life, he realized he had become like the prodigal, and that he realizes God was would still want him, still calling for him. Supposedly at that point, he became saved. And so there was this whole Christian connection to the story. And I asked the question this morning, which narrative are people going to follow? Are they going to go with a possible racial narrative because the shooter was white and he killed 8 individuals, and I think most of them were Asian women? So was he going after individuals of Asian descent? Even the news report that we played this morning, that's the narrative they kind of went with, because they added in their report, I'm losing my voice. They added in their report the increase in hate crimes against Asians, and they added that to the story about this alleged shooter in Atlanta. And they were kind of drawing a correlation. He's white. He went after Asian women. Could it be that there was a racial connection? As we talked about it this morning, the reports that we had said there is no racial connection. We're not sure if there's no racial connection. There could be a racial connection, and they were all over the place. So I said, are they going to go with that narrative, or are they going to go with the narrative of this person being connected to Christianity? It appears he was a member of a Baptist church. His father, possibly in some kind of ministry. Which direction were they going to go? Well, when I got done with the live broadcast and I started looking at news articles when I got home and I was eating lunch, I saw over and over all of these reports basically saying it was a racial attack. It was a hate crime. I think even someone in Congress, maybe someone in the Senate, I don't know, even came out about basically saying that the shooting was somehow racially motivated. I'm like, are they going to go with that narrative, or are they going to go, wait a minute, this person claims to be a Christian. This is some form of Christian terrorism. Are they going to go in that direction? Well, it seems most went with the racial narrative, and then a couple of hours ago, the narrative started changing. And now the narrative is this person who's accused went in and shot because of some sex addiction and wanting to basically end sources of temptation. So this adds a whole new, not really a whole new direction, because that would obviously be linked to him being a Christian or claiming to be a Christian idea. So the story is still developing. As I said this morning, I'm going to try to be very careful. I'm going to try to be very careful with what I say, choose my words as carefully as I can. So I may have to speak in a slower manner, more deliberate, trying to make sure I'm using the right words or correcting myself. Again, I'm going to continue to refer to the individual as the accused shooter. All right. I think it's becoming more and more clear, but that I'm going to still try to use that terminology. And we're going to look at some reports and kind of look at this new information that's coming forward and see what we can do and think about it and what it says. And I've got some comments here from some people making some, I'll just give you some of the idea of what people are saying. Let's go to the Christian Post. Now, a lot of people have attacked their article saying that it's ridiculous the way it's written and how dare it be posted. But we're going to look at it. I'm going to click on it here right quick. I'm at the Christian Post. Is it thechristianpost.com? Yeah, thechristianpost.com. You can go there and read the article for yourself. I don't know what time this was published. I don't know the time. It was obviously published today, and it was obviously a little later in the day after the initial reports were going around this morning. Again, that was trying to attach this mass shooting that occurred in Atlanta, where these massage parlors where the shooter went in and shot people, again, primarily Asian women, and people looked at it more from a racial side. Now we have this new kind of development. So let's take a look. Let's try to think this through. Thinking caps on. Here we go. Christian mass shooter. Stop right there. Christian mass shooter. Now, immediately people got mad. They said, no. He's not a Christian, not a Christian, not a Christian, he's not a Christian, not a Christian, not a Christian. Because he's doing something bad, makes us all look bad. There's no way a Christian could do that. Not a Christian, not a Christian. And immediately people are like, nope, I get to make the decision. He's not a Christian. And I'm assuming if King David was here and he had someone murdered to cover up an adulterous affair, everybody would say, not a Christian, not a Christian. I don't know what's going on inside this person. Again, I will say this professing Christian, because I don't know anyone's salvation. I don't know what kind of faith they have, if it's real. I don't know. So this professing Christian mass shooter, right? I cannot say, but he's associated with Christianity. Just like anyone who does anything in the name of Islam, some Muslims will say, no, that's not true Islam. And others say, yes, it is. And then everyone argues. He connected himself to Christianity, so we will refer to him as the professing Christian mass shooter. I don't know. I can dogmatically say that his actions are obviously not consistent with biblical Christianity. We can obviously say that, right? But a lot of people did not like the way they phrased this headline. Christian mass shooter Robert Long was tired of temptation posed by massage parlors. Now listen to this again. This professing Christian mass shooter, Robert Long, was tired of temptation posed by massage parlors. He believed massage parlors posed a source of great temptation, and this is according to police. Here is the story. Christian mass shooter Robert Aaron Long, age 21, told police he was addicted to pornography and was trying to eliminate temptation when he shot up 3 massage parlors in the Atlanta area, killing 8 people who were mostly Asian women Tuesday evening, and was planning to shoot up more parlors in Florida. I'll stop right there. Now, if he claims to be a Christian and he has found himself addicted to pornography, having major sexual sin issues, and he can't seem to stop, and he wants it to stop, and so he decides to take a gun and start shooting people to somehow eliminate the temptation. Well, we could talk about this all day. First and foremost, the temptation is because of the depravity inside of you, first and foremost. And 2, you don't eliminate temptation by killing people because, the killing of people, that's a sin, okay? So you don't conquer a sin by committing another sin. 3, you would hope, and I pray, that he was able to talk to people in the church, godly people, about his struggles and was receiving hopefully good advice, and people were working with him. It appears that he was either given good advice and he just refused to listen, or it would be more tragic, obviously, if he was not given any good advice and now this has occurred. It's horrible either way, but yes, there's a lot more we could say about that, but let's go through this, and we'll read some of the comments, and we'll look at a number of the ways this is being reported. So, Again, he's referred to as a Christian mass shooter. I would say professing Christian mass shooter. Robert Aaron Long, 21, told police he was addicted to pornography and was trying to eliminate temptation when he shot up 3 massage parlors in the Atlanta area, killing 8 people who were mostly Asian women Tuesday evening, and was planning to shoot up more parlors in Florida. We did interview him last night. He is currently at our facility at the Cherokee County Adult Detention Center, Cherokee County Sheriff Frank Reynolds said at a press conference Wednesday. He made indicators that he has some issues, potentially sexual addiction, and may have frequented some of these places in the past. So does that mean there's something going on in these places that I don't know, but obviously there's an issue. Captain Jay Baker of the Cherokee County Sheriff's Department said Long, who attended Crabapple First Baptist Church in Milton, Georgia, a Southern Baptist congregation, did take responsibility for the shootings and dismissed reports that his actions were racially motivated. All right. So he seemed to acknowledge that he is the shooter. So at least the confessed shooter, Robert Aaron Long, we don't have to say the alleged. I mean, he has confessed to being the shooter. Robert Aaron Long, age 21, again, is a member of Crabapple First Baptist Church in Milton, Georgia. Now, obviously, they're going to get a lot of media scrutiny. You know that. They're going to be going through their sermons. They're going to be going through everything this church has ever done. So we know that's definitely going to take place. The article continues, speaking of the shooter or the confessed shooter, he does claim that he was not racially motivated. He apparently has an issue with what he considers a sex addiction and sees these locations as something that allows him to go to these places. It's a temptation for him he wanted to eliminate, Baker said. Those are comments that he made. Baker explained that investigators handling the case said Long understood the gravity of his actions Tuesday. Now, there's so much we could talk about here. Did he feel that sexual temptation was greater, that sexual sin is greater than murder? Did he feel that committing a sexual sin was far greater than killing someone who's created in the image of God? That it's just, that's crazy to me. Like what I think what we probably really need to find out I think before we can make any leaps in judgment here, does this person have any history of mental illness? Was he taking any medications for any kind? Had he any diagnosis of mental illness? Because it just seems from a Christian perspective, yes, I know Christianity teaches sexual sin. Of all the sins you commit, don't commit sexual sin. Because if you commit that sin, it's over, it's done. So many other sins are acceptable. I would hope that somehow in his mind, he didn't go, I must stop sexual sin, even if it means killing people, because killing would be justified if I'm stopping sexual sin. I would hope that that's not what was going through his mind, but we can only go with what's being reported so far. Baker explained that investigators handling the case said Long understood the gravity of his actions. He was pretty much fed up and kind of at the end of his rope, and I guess it was a really bad day for him, and this is what he did, Baker said. Now, please note those comments that it was just a really bad day for him has sparked outrage. People are furious at was it the sheriff who said that? See, the name of the person who made that comment is Baker. See, who is he? Captain Jay Baker of Cherokee County Cherokee County Sheriff's Department is the one who said, I guess it was a really bad day for him, and everyone is outraged and upset, and they're probably going to be calling for him to be fired because they say, a bad day for him. What about the people who were killed? And obviously, he was in front of. I'm assuming he was in front of cameras, and he articulated this in an incorrect way, which can happen with public speaking. I'm not justifying saying the comments are, hey, it's perfectly okay. It does come across as very uncaring. Hey, it's a bad day for the shooter. It's a bad day for the family members who just lost loved ones. That was a bad day. But I understand what he was probably trying to say. I guess this was a bad day for him as far as temptation, because it seems like these comments are in context with reporting that the reason this shooting took place, the motivation, is because he felt these places were great sources of temptation that allowed him to go there. And I don't know, to indulge in the temptation. I don't know what was going on. But so it was a bad day in that sense, and that's what led him to carry out the shootings. I think that that's what he was trying to articulate, but it didn't come across. But of course, it's all over social media. Everyone's going crazy because that's what you need. In the middle of great tragedies, you need a controversy over the way something was said, but that's the world in which we live in. He says these locations, he sees them as an outlet for him, something he shouldn't be doing. He had an issue with porn, and he was attempting to take out that temptation. He added, it may be targets of opportunity. We believe that he frequented these places in the past and may have been lashing out. Authorities say 4 people died in Long's shooting spree during his first attack. And then so they go through the different places, and we reported all of that this morning. Let's see here. They go on to say, we don't know additional information on what his motivation were, but certainly will not begin to, we certainly will not begin to blame victims. And as far as we know in Atlanta, these are legally operating businesses that have not been on our radar nor on the radar of the Atlanta Police Department. All right. So in other words, we're not going to start blaming victims. All right, we're not going to blame the victims. No, should not blame the victims. And that is, that gets into a lot of discussion about Christians and our kind of the Christian purity culture idea. If I fall into sin, who do I blame? Does the woman get blamed, or do I get blamed? Who's responsible? If someone gets sexually assaulted, does the victim get blamed? So there's lots of questions that get raised, and sometimes you could say the accusations are fair. Sometimes you could say the accusations are not accurate, that sometimes the Christian morality about sexuality and the way we handle it and deal with it sometimes creates a very unhealthy perspective. And we've already had discussions about that in the past. And maybe we need to have deeper discussions about that in the future, because obviously, whatever was going on in these places, even if it was a place selling pornography, whatever, if you can't blame the people he shot, he's responsible, and he can't blame the fact that, they were tempting me and I've got to eliminate temptation. They're the bad people. No, we're the bad people who can't control our lust. And we always have to look to ourselves first and foremost and not blame everyone else. Again, I've told the story before about the Christian man who, when we got at work, was going crazy and mad and angry and was trying to find phone numbers to get a billboard taken down because the billboard had a woman on there that wasn't wearing many clothes, and it caused him problems, and he wanted it taken down. He wanted it removed. He wanted that business hurt. And it's like, no, the temptation is you. You got to deal with it. Don't be blaming everyone else. And it's easy to do so, but yeah. And we could go a lot of different directions there. It says he was using a 9mm firearm in his attack on the massage parlors. Thanks to the help of his family, they were able to track him through his cell phone and stop him before he was able to take more lives. That's good that the family did do what they could to try to stop it. We are really appreciative of the family. Without them, this would not have happened as quickly as it happened. They were very supportive, and certainly this was difficult for them. Long, who was twice baptized at Crabapple First Baptist Church, most recently in 2018, previously attended services with his mother, father, and younger sister. Police said that at the time of the shooting, Long was not living with his parents. So he was not living with his parents at the time. So there doesn't refer to his father as a pastor that we had previously reported. I don't know if that's been corrected or not. Minutes from a meeting of the elders at the church showed that in 2018, Long was one of 11 people who served as members of Crab Apple First Baptist Church student ministry team, which existed to see students receive Jesus Christ as Lord and walk in him, being rooted in the faith. Jerry Dockery, the lead teaching elder at the church, prayed last Sunday that God would use his church to have leaders in various areas of the public and private sector drawn toward you. We pray that the Lord, our leaders and our first responders, our teachers, our business leaders, to have their eyes and hearts drawn towards you. you make yourself known in this community in a very powerful personal way. We ask that you use Crabapple Church to bring this to pass. Asked by the Christian Post on Wednesday to share his thoughts on Long's faith and any possible explanation that could have driven Long to carry out the shootings, Dockery said, "We are grieved to hear the tragic news about the multiple deaths in the Atlanta area. We are heartbroken for all involved. We grieve for the victims and their families, and we continue to pray for them. Moreover, we are distraught for the Long family and pray for them as well." And didn't give any they didn't give any answer. And I know what can the church say? I mean, hey, someone who's a member of your church, someone who was baptized, someone's been there, it seems like for a long time, who attended with his family, goes and does this horrific thing. What can you say? I mean, there's nothing you can say. I mean, do you take responsibility and say, we messed up? We didn't teach the Bible the correct way? I mean, what can you say? I know that anytime someone within a church does something wrong, then everyone looks to the church and go, what were you doing? Why didn't you teach them? What were you teaching them? What did you do wrong? Let's always put the blame first and foremost where it belongs, on the individual. That's where it has to be. And then we could go from there. Now, Let's just look at some of the comments that people have made underneath this story. Here's the very first one. It was published about an hour ago. Purity culture from the Bronze Age, check. Easy access to firearms, check. Objectification of women, check. Not a real Christian, check. Now, of course, that's what everyone's going to, not a real Christian, not a real Christian, not a real Christian, not a real Christian, not a real, I guess 24 hours before the shooting, I guess he was a real Christian. The minute he does the shooting, voila, not a Christian. So I guess technically nobody knows if we're a real Christian until we get to the end of our life and we don't do something horrible or tragic to demonstrate otherwise. Again, these issues, so many theological issues just come pouring out. And of course, people in many cases just start throwing out ideas that I don't even think they're thinking about from a theological perspective. My salvation is either based off my faith in Jesus Christ and him alone, or it's based off my actions, and I have to do enough right actions, or if I do enough wrong actions, then that cancels out my salvation. That's not what we supposedly teach, but that's what we go to, especially when someone does something horrible, horrific, and sad, pathetic, all the other words that you want to use to describe it. The next person wrote, "It was a really bad day for him. What is it? Is it because he is white and a professing Christian that you have to treat him with kids' gloves? He is a mass murderer, not a kid who is at the end of his rope. There are 4 people dead at his hands." As I said, everyone is going crazy over that. It was a bad day for him comment. I think that is in the broader context of this guy was having major issues with porn and sexual addiction and temptation. He saw these places as a source of temptation, so I'm thinking it was a really bad day for him. In other words, he was really struggling, and this was what he decided to do. I think that's how that comment is to be understood. I could be wrong. I know I have a tendency to try to excuse people who may make a mistake in public speaking, just as someone who speaks all the time. I know sometimes I can say things in a way that's not clear, and it's always a danger, but I think that's how that comment should be understood. I could be wrong, but I think that's how that should be understood. Next, gotta love this whole religious idea that just because someone's rear end warms a pew, that they're born again. 72% of all U.S. citizens claim to be Christian. Look around. We know this ain't so. Again, this person wants to, again, they get to determine, I guess, who's a Christian and who's not a Christian, again, based off what they do and don't do, which becomes a Christianity based off works, not on salvation, by grace alone, through faith alone. This always becomes problematic. I know everybody wants to run to this. Not a Christian. They did bad. Not a Christian. We will throw people out of the body of Christ so fast. If they make us look bad, boom, gone. Now, here's what I think should, and I know this is hard, but listen to me. What this person did was horrific, horrible. He should be in jail. He should be punished to the fullest extent of the law. Whatever the law says and whatever the law allows for punishment, it should occur. He killed human beings who were created in the image of God. Horrific, horrible, sad, destructive, just absolutely appalling. No question about it. But at the same time, someone needs to reach out to the person and try to minister to the person and do whatever way they can to minister to the person, not to get them out of jail, not to make an excuse when they go to court that, hey, this person is a changed person. No, the person needs to pay for the crime that they've committed. We all agree with that. But he can't just be abandoned by every Christian, even though he did a horrific thing. Everyone can't just abandon the person. Hopefully the church will still, I don't even know what to say I don't even know what to say. I've gone to a prison before to meet someone who heard me when I was on Christian radio. And, sometimes you don't know what to say other than, okay, there's still a human being. Still, this prisoner is still created in the image of God. And I still want to minister to them without diminishing the crime, without placing them above the victim's family who lost a loved one. Obviously, they need to be ministered to as well. It's not one against the other, but it's just, hey, this person did this, boom, not a Christian, not a Christian, not a Christian. Nope, I know it. Again, you got people in the Bible who did some really messed up stuff. And we open up the Bible and read their words in church and read the Psalms. So read the Psalms, the hymn book of the Bible, written, many of those Psalms written by a man who literally had a woman's husband murdered to cover up his adultery and ended up with multiple wives. Oh, that's a good question. I haven't approached it. Someone just asked a question. How long will it be before Christians are called dangerous? This is a good question. I have seen some reports. I may have one here where basically they're referring to, hey, see, this is like the Christian Taliban. This is like, see, Muslims get radicalized. Christianity radicalizes young men because of their sexual struggles to go out and kill people. Now, of course, you would have to find anything in this church's teaching that says if you're being tempted to go kill someone, and I don't think they're going to find that. But from the outside, people are going to say, see, Christian, killing, Christianity equals, there's a radicalization that occurs within Christianity. The same thing is probably, I think it's already happening. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be widespread, but it definitely is already happening in some of these comments. All right. Another person says, this article is absolute crap, flipping the responsibility on the women. I don't know where the article placed the responsibility on the women. The article has, I think it states twice. Go back up here. Let's see here. Let me go back up here. Give me 1 second. I got to find it. As police shared new details on Long's motives, Atlanta mayor, we certainly will not begin to blame victims. So, I don't know. Where did the article blame? Yeah, I don't. Sometimes I don't even know how to. I don't even know what people are reading. I don't know. The article's absolutely crap, flipping the responsibility on the women. And 7 people liked this comment. And then someone responded to that. This article is terrible. It blows my mind that you even posted it. And 9 people love that. I don't know how they're blaming the women. This person feels that he has a major sexual porn addiction, and these places were sources of temptation. He killed the women. The article is just reporting what this man claimed. It's not saying it's the women's fault. Now, yes, now we could get into a long discussion that within Christianity, within ministries to men who struggle with porn, do we put the blame on the women? Do we? And if we do we objectify women, just see the women as an object that are either there to satisfy our sexual urges or there as a source of temptation? And if the woman tempts us, bad woman, and we don't look to ourselves, I don't know. Is that a unintended consequence of the way we approach the sexual the Christian sexual ethic. That's a conversation I'm willing to have. I just don't see how that article is blaming the women. I don't understand that. Let's see, what else do we have here? This one says, this is ISIS-level propaganda of basking in glory after a terror attack. As a Christian, this is offensive. I don't understand that either. Someone asked, who's basking in glory? So I don't know what they're referring to. Just reading comments under articles at times can be mind-numbing. Porn addiction. Porn addict mass shooter Robert Aaron Long was tired of temptation posed by massage parlors. There, I fixed the title for you. See, this person doesn't want the person to be called a Christian. Don't call the person a Christian. Don't call the person a Christian. Don't call the person Christian. This person put, Christian should be in parentheses. Yeah, so here's what they want to, in a news article, now this is what they want. They want reporters to make a theological determination if someone is a Christian or not a Christian. Someone is a Christian first and foremost by their affiliation with Christianity, claiming to be a Christian. That makes them a Christian at least at one level. Whether their Christianity is real from a biblical theological level, that's a biblical theological discussion. The person claims to be a Christian, a member of a Christian church, they're going to be called a Christian. I don't know why Christians get so, they're calling them a Christian. But if someone claims to be a Muslim and they do some violent attack, they're a Muslim. If a Jehovah's Witness does something, they're a Jehovah's Witness. If a Mormon does something horrible, they're a Mormon. Why do Christians, if a Satanist does something horrible, they're a Satanist? It's never professing Muslim, professing Mormon, professing Jehovah's Witness, professing Satanist. But we want to be treated differently. If someone who claims to be a Christian does something horrible, they're a professing Christian. They're not a Christian. And the news media should not report that because it's Christian persecution. Christians, get over yourselves. The news media is not going to make a theological determination. Well, guys, do we really think, did this person show enough fruit of the Spirit to really be saved? Did he? I don't know. Should we do some more investigation? He claims to be a Christian. He's a member of a Christian church. We will refer to him as a Christian. Hey, Christians, get over it. I just don't understand that. And again, it's like, no, just remove that. Remove that person, remove that person, remove that person, remove that. Any person we can throw out of the body of Christ, not to make us look bad, that's what we will do. What about weeping with those who weep? What about getting there down in the muck and the mire of sin and say, man, you have messed up beyond all comprehension. What is going on? You have committed a horrible sin, a horrible, horrible sin. You're going to face horrible consequences for your actions, as you should rightly do so by the laws of this land. But what is going on inside of you? What are you thinking? Well, how did you get here? What can we do? How can we fix it? We need to fix your way of thinking. You've got to get this right. You've got to repent of this. This is horrible. So there we go. And then the next person writes, he wasn't Christian. Of course, these people all know. See, these people know. They know who's a Christian and who's not a Christian. That person was not a born-again Christian baptized in the Holy Spirit. And then this person said, because that's the important thing here. Now, that's whether he's a Christian or, see, that's a great point. That person is brilliant. Because Christians want to make this an argument about he's a Christian or not a Christian, not about the fact that 8 people were killed. See, we don't want us to look bad. See, we're worried about our image. We're not worried about dead people. We're worried about our image. Well, he's not a Christian. Don't call him a Christian. He's not a Christian. He's not okay, he's not a Christian. Whew, okay, good. Thank you. Thank you for removing that. Now I feel better. All right, what's for supper? 8 people are dead, and we're worried about whether the person should be called a Christian or not a Christian. Yeah, that says a lot about our pro-life stance, right? We're so pro-life. No, we're pro, don't make us look bad. Don't make us look bad. How horrible of sin can a Christian fall into and be a sin? Still be a Christian, I should say. How horrible of sin can a Christian commit and still be a Christian? Now, a mass shooting is beyond my comprehension of how someone could end up there. I don't know how people can end up where they are. I don't know how Christians can. There's sins Christians commit that I don't understand, and there's sins I've committed that you wouldn't understand. I don't know. I just know depravity lives all inside of us, and how far can depravity take us? That's something that we have to continue to understand. How bad of mistake can you make? And when I say mistake, I shouldn't even use the word. How bad of sin can you commit? Now, obviously, when I say sin, please understand, I'm not using sin to minimize murder, because murder is a sin. I'm just saying that this leads to a deeper theological discussion. Like, on one hand, he's not a Christian, based off what you determine. So you get to determine who's saved and who's not saved, or does God determine who's saved and not saved? And are we saved by grace alone, through faith alone, because of Christ alone? Or are we saved by what we do? It's a never-ending theological discussion. I just think Christians got to stop the whining that the news media reports the person as a Christian when the person was a member of a church who had a public testimony on social media of being saved, of putting his faith in Jesus Christ, was baptized, was attending church with his family, and was no, not a Christian, not a Christian. Don't call him a Christian. But we would not afford the same right if someone from a cult or some other horrible organization or other organization that we view as horrible did something horrible. We would say, a Jehovah's Witness did that. A Mormon did that. A Muslim did that. I don't expect the news media to be doing theological study to figure out how to determine salvation. I mean, I don't know what Christians expect. But again, the fact that we're fighting over whether he was a Christian or not a Christian seems to demonstrate a complete lack of seeing the greater picture here. Human beings are dead. But I was afraid that there was going to be a Christian connection to this. That's why I started this morning. That's why I went that direction, because I'm like, everyone's missing this in their reporting. Everyone wanted to go the racial direction. This is a hate crime against Asians. And I was like, I think there's a Christian part here. I think there's the Christian part here. And it appears now, within an hour, this could change. It appears now that his Christianity was the motivating factor in his mind. Sexual temptation, sexual sin was far greater than taking a gun and killing people. What made him think that way? Is there some underlying mental health issues here that nobody understood? Why wouldn't he end his own life? Why didn't he go that direction? Like, what was he thinking? We'll never understand it. I don't know if we'll ever understand it. What he did was horrible and was a sin, and it was wrong. That is a fact. And we'll have to see how this gets reported and played out. Now, I know people are going to take something I said here and go 50 million different directions and start accusing me of all kinds of things. Look, if you have a question about anything I said, email me and we can discuss it. newsif@yahoo.com, newsif@yahoo.com. There you go. That's the latest that we have right now. Wait a minute. I do think I'll take that back. Before we end, no, I'll just save it for later. I do have an audio clip. That I never got to, but we've already been 38 minutes. So we'll just stop right there and we'll save that audio clip till later. The news media, NPR, who gave the initial report this morning that we heard, who was kind of going in the racial direction, by the time you get to All Things Considered, their afternoon news program, the narrative starts shifting, now moving towards the Christian spiritual temptation narrative, because now that's what the shooter has confessed. So, of course, they don't go back and clarify this morning. They definitely led that other direction. But that's why whenever a story breaks, you got to follow it all the way to the end to see all the twists and turns that can happen in a news story. So, all right, we'll stop right there. I'll be back on the air here shortly. And again, 7:00 tonight, we'll probably be live under the VBC Bible Institute, I think is where we're going to be. But just be looking for where we're going to be live tonight at 7. Should be an interesting study. All right, I'll be back on the air here shortly. God bless.